Welcome to the 5th episode of the Northern Art Podcast with me, Ant Cosgrove. I hope you're all safe and well. I'm really missing exhibitions and galleries and just getting out and seeing paintings, to be honest with you, so hopefully we'll be back on track before too long. I've been thinking about some of the potential people that I could ask to come onto the podcast in the future. It's a pretty big list, so fingers crossed we'll have lots more interesting episodes to come. Which leads me neatly onto my guest today. There is lots of information you can find online about this artist, but I think this might actually be the first recording that I've ever seen. There's certainly no videos about him or interviews or anything like that, so yeah, I'm really chuffed to get him on the podcast. This artist was born in Miles Platting, Manchester in 1943. His work is instantly recognisable with his striking use of Northern Cubism, and he has countless collectors and admirers around the country. He taught for many years in Salford and has many stories to tell. I've known him for a few years now, and he is one of the nicest people in art. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to Mr. Peter Stanaway. Hi Peter, how you doing?
Hi Anthony, very nice of you to do this to me now.
Yeah, are you okay? You're doing all right?
I'm a bit old now, but I'm joining the elite.
You're joining the elite. Yeah, we've managed to hook us ourselves up on Zoom, haven't we, for this? So hopefully we'll be okay.
We have, yeah.
Right, so today, Peter, we're just going to run through your life, if that's okay. This is your life, and we'll just go through everything and see. So in your early life, you're born obviously in Miles Platting. What was your early memories, and how did you get interested in art, and what did your parents do, and things like that?
Well, I was born right underneath a mill called Holland's Mill.
Right.
My relatives worked in the mill. My relatives worked in the mill in Miles Platting. It's still there, Holland's Mill. Mm-hmm. So it was quite an industrial area at the time. My dad at the time when I was born was in India. He was in the RAF, and my mum worked part-time at the post office.
Right.
So I was at Corpus Christi School, and then when Dad came back, we got a prefab, because when the forces, had been in the forces and there were no housing.
Yeah.
But my dad worked at the Manchester Guardian.
Right.
We got a prefab. So I lived in the prefabs for many years. We were only supposed to be up for a short time. During that time, I was at St Dunstan's Junior School.
Yeah.
And the art side of it wasn't really, there was nobody in my family, not that I know of, who did any art, really. I was always encouraged to draw. That was the main thing.
Yeah.
And then I was at St Dunstan's School in Moston, and I did the 11 plus. And I think looking back on it, the biggest probably influence of my whole life, really, was going to St Gregory's in Ardwick Green.
Right.
St Gregory's was 3 schools you could go for, were 11 plus. I didn't pass for St Bede's or Saverian. And like you, Cardinal Langley wasn't built then. So I went to Ardwick Green, to St Gregory's in Ardwick Green. And at that time, Ardwick Green, it was, you got the Apollo, you got the old Hippodrome. But we were fortunate there because a lot of the teachers who were at the school had been in the forces.
Right. And
they'd come back and done 1-year courses at universities or taken teacher qualifications. And they brought all these new ideas after the war. And was especially interesting because the art teacher was a fellow called Terry Sheridan. Right. Now, Terry worked in basic design courses and used basic design. So in 1950, I was introduced to the Bauhaus.
Wow.
And basic design, which was fantastic, really. You're talking about some of these artists, your Paul Klee, Kandinsky. I'd never heard of these in the 50s. Yeah. Nobody else had.
Right.
And that was fantastic. But these guys brought it from being in the forces, especially the Bauhaus. I never heard of the Bauhaus. I don't think anybody else did at that time.
Yeah, not that time.
And then we did economic history at St Greg's. We didn't do European history. Now, economic history was all about the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
So Manchester, you're right in the centre of the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
And we had a history teacher who was very much into the Industrial Revolution and put us into all the industrial areas in Manchester, like down at Castlefield.
Yeah.
And we were encouraged to go into Manchester and seek part of the Industrial Revolution. Now, at that time, I was doing A-level art. What a place to be able to go down there. There was no Granada TV.
Yeah.
There was nothing down in that area at all except ruins, the old canals, abattoirs and things like that. And that's the kind of history that we did. So from the school I was at, we got this influence, firstly from a teacher who was doing basic design and Bauhaus teaching.
Yeah.
And also in history, we're talking about the industrial and the archaeological
So that's all fed into your work now, hasn't it? Even now, that was
a big influence, massive influence
all the way
on me.
through. Did you decide to study art then after that? How did that sort of come about?
Well, I did A-level art,
right?
And I was the first person. I was the first person at St Gregory's to do A-level art, because up to that time they only did A-level. They only did O-level, and then you moved on to Saverian or St Bede's. But they started to open a sixth form, and I was the first person to do A-level art.
Wow.
And then I was encouraged by my art teacher with this basic design course to go in for teaching.
Yeah.
So then when I did my A-levels, I did English, art and economic history. Mm-hmm. And I got a place at Hopwood de la Salle.
Yeah.
And when I was at Hopwood de la Salle, the lecturer there was a fellow called Stuart MacDonald, and he was a portrait artist. And it was the first time I'd ever come across anybody who worked in the art world to that extent, and a fellow called Danny Gleeson. Okay. And they were a big influence on the teaching of art and what you had to do. So I spent 3 years life drawing, all different kinds of art, doing different kinds of things, never knowing where I was going to finish up. And one day the lecturer said to me, there's a guy come to see you from Salford. He's called Mr. Joseph Kiernan, and he's opening a new school in Salford, a new secondary modern school. So I got introduced to him. He said, don't take a job anywhere else. Come down to Salford. I've got a brand new school. He said, we've got a pottery. We've got all the equipment. It's fantastic. Well, Salford, to me at that time, it was like bandit country.
Yeah. What year was this? Then? When would this have been about?
1963, 64.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So I took the job in Salford at this brand new school. Well, it was an inner city school, special needs in the many sense that a lot of the children were on free school meals, and it was near Salford Cathedral.
Yeah.
On Oldfield Road. So I moved into this brand new secondary modern school. Well, it was right in the middle of what you've got now, right where Granada TV is, right where Castlefield is. Right outside the school was a Liverpool Street railway station, the Liverpool station, the old passenger station there, and first one in the world. So the school was bang on for doing artwork. And it was great to take the kids out because you had all this industrial archaeology and my sort of training with doing economic history. And I found all these places and took the kids down and we drew and we did all kinds of things. And then through many years, we did a lot of drawing, but we're very much... Salford was a great place to be in those days.
Yeah.
And I think the first week I was there, the lad called Bernard Murphy was a maths teacher. And he was a bit of a character, Bernard. And he said to me, have you ever been up to Peel Park Art Gallery? Never heard of it. He said, oh, we'll have to go up to Peel Park Art Gallery. So I go up to Peel Park Art Gallery. Well, of course, you got the Victorian Street. And at the time, all the Lowrys were in Salford Art Gallery. They weren't down at the Lowry where they are now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And Bernard was quite a well-known character. And we went into this top room and Harold Riley was there with Lowry. Right. But Harold Riley shouted, hiya, Bernard. And Bernard said, come on. So I went over and I got introduced to Lowry.
Wow.
And of course, Harold Riley.
Yeah.
Which was very interesting, and he was asking me what I was doing. Now, at that time, Harold Riley was doing Saturday morning classes at Odsall School, which is quite near where, where the Lowry is now.
Yeah, it's not far from United's ground, is it? Around that area?
It's very near United's ground. Yeah. The headmaster of my school as well was a great friend of Matt Busby.
Right, okay.
Big pal of Matt Busby. And so there was always this football thing at the school as well.
Right.
But I got introduced to Lowry and he asked me what I was doing. And Harold took kids from my school on Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
So it was a great place to teach, but we amalgamated twice. The schools amalgamated. We amalgamated with Adelphi Girls Grammar School.
Yep.
So I was head of, at the time, of Adelphi Girls Grammar School. So 200 yards down the road, you got an inner city school with all its problems. And then we had the sort of what was left over of the Adelphi Girls. So I was working with nuns.
Right.
Which was very strange, really, because it was so different from one end to the other,
Yeah.
But the thing about Salford, Anthony, we had fabulous art advisors. And the art advisors were very much into using first-hand experience drawing. They'd come around your schools if there's any copying or photographs, or they wanted you to Everything had to be first-hand experience drawing from things. So everybody filled the classrooms with all kinds of things, broken cars, skeletons, bones, you name it. And we had to draw from this.
Right.
And we all went on courses. We went on some fabulous courses, the Lake District, Southport, and maybe 40 art teachers went.
Right.
And it's significant that most of the people who ran the GCSE and the A-level courses, they're all from Salford. And one of the first ones we had was the CSE, which was the Certificate of Secondary Education, where one teacher marked another school's examination. Mm-hmm. And one of the ones I met, I had to go to the school in Broughton. So I went to the school in Broughton. Of course, it was Geoffrey Key.
Right.
So I had to mark Geoffrey Key's school exhibition. Right. And Geoffrey came to my school to mark my exhibition. Well, Geoffrey didn't drive at all. Right. And he came down. This is, a long time ago. Yeah. And I got to know Jeff, and I took him home. Actually took him home in my car. So that was very, very nice, because I thought, Jeff was a big noise even in those days, having exhibitions, Salford Art Gallery. Yeah, but we had regular teacher exhibitions as well in Salford. And then eventually I got onto the examination board. I became a top advisor for the North of England with regards to the GCSE. So I got involved in going around to various schools, not doing much of my own work. And then I exhibited at Manchester Academy without being a member for 4 years.
Right, okay.
Because it used to be at the Athenaeum in Mosley Street. Now, I think part of it was a membership, but it was an open exhibition. And I got in for 4 years without being a member.
Ah, right, okay.
And a friend of mine, John McCombs, as you know, John, said to me, why didn't I join Manchester Academy?
Yeah.
So that's what I did. So I joined Manchester Academy and John sponsored me. So I then got into Manchester Academy. That's 30 odd years ago.
So were they showing in Manchester Art Gallery then, Manchester Academy at that point?
It was showing in the Athenaeum.
In the Athenaeum,
and Manchester Art Gallery.
Yeah, so it's after that,
Yeah, I actually helped, John asked me to help many times to put the exhibitions up with the Manchester Academy, which was great. But the other thing which I needed to tell you really, which was a big influence on me, was when we did the GCSE at school, in art, you had a choice of what kind of syllabus you had to do. And one of the syllabuses I did was, it was called, I don't think what it was called now. It was a syllabus where you had to do 4 or 5 different areas in art.
Okay.
Or you could do one area, you could just do painting and drawing.
Yeah.
Or you could do a group of different things. So I did that one because most of the kids I had, they weren't academic in that sense. There were no star days or anything like that. Yeah. So I offered them printmaking, pottery, sculpture, drawing and painting. That was part of my course.
Yeah.
So I got involved in doing lots of ceramics, lots of sculpture, lots of printmaking.
Yeah.
And the style of art which I was taught from the Bauhaus enabled me to adapt to any of these things like printmaking and pottery. Yeah. Which was really, really good, So I found that my kids that I had, not everybody, I believed everybody could draw anyway. I was a great believer in child art, but I was able to offer a lot of children ceramics, sculpture, printmaking, different kinds of things, which was great, really.
I think it's really interesting with your ceramics, especially because I certainly think that in your work that you're producing now, there are definite influences from your ceramics with your painting. For example, I remember when I came to see you in your studio a while ago, on some of your paintings, there's like a honeycomb pattern that you use. On certain, on the paintings themselves, it's like you use tools and you use like you would do perhaps if you were making ceramics, where you were using things to press onto the ceramic. I think to make patterns and shapes and things. I think you bring that through onto your painting. I think that sort of comes through on your paintings as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, we were one of the first schools as well to use. I don't know if you've ever heard of Monk's Hall Art Gallery.
Which
was in Eccles. It's a big gallery, big well-known gallery. Mm-hmm. We were asked as a school to put on an exhibition at Monk's Hall. We were one of the first schools to do that.
Right.
But then we amalgamated with St. Lawrence's, which was next to De La Salle in Salford, right next to Buell Hill Park.
Yeah.
And of course, at the time, Buell Hill Park, it had a mining museum. Mm-hmm. And the mining museum, they had all the Roger Hampson's. So the kids were able to go and see all the Roger Hampson's work.
Wow. Brilliant.
Which is fabulous. But when I worked in inner city Salford at Oldfield Road, we had a school chaplain, a man called Eugene Dolan. Mm-hmm. And Father Dolan was a great bloke, big Manchester United fan, big into folk music. And of course, I played the guitar and the banjo and the mandolin. And later on in life, when I got married, I moved up to Oldham to live in Oldham when I got married. Mm-hmm. And Father Dolan, being a friend from Salford, came and I'd done a door plate on the front door with the number of the house. Mm-hmm. And he said to me, who did that? I said, I did it. He said, why don't you do the Stations of the Cross in my new church?
Wow.
I said, wow. I said, well, that's a big thing to do, you know. Yeah. He said, I'd like you to do the Stations of the Cross, which is the story of Christ's crucifixion, his death and his burial. Yeah. Would I do them in clay? So I got permission from the headmaster and I did the Stations of the Cross. So there were 14 Stations of the Cross, but we did a 15th one, which was Jesus Rises from the Dead. And they're now on display in St. Edward's Church in Leeds.
Right, that's fantastic.
I also did the banners for that church as well. So there was quite a big religious input into that, which was very, very good.
Yeah.
And then where should we go from there? It's such a lot to keep telling you. Really. All this time I was...
you was there at Salford a long time then, wasn't you? How long was you teaching there for?
I taught 30 years in Salford. Right. And then what had happened, we'd amalgamated with that many schools that the numbers of the kids had gone down. And eventually we were all paid on high salaries, but small numbers were in the school. I think we'd gone down to about 320. Right. So they offered us early retirement when we were 50, four of us, with enhancement to our pension.
Right.
So I was humming and ahhing. My wife was very positive. She said, oh, you've got to take it, you know. Please take it, you know, get a life back, sort of. So I did that. So I was quite worried about where I would go and what I would do.
Yeah.
But eventually I got offered, I did ceramics at Oldham sixth form, which was a new sixth form.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was teaching GCSE at Ashton sixth form. And then somebody approached me and asked me, would I like to do a couple of days at a special needs school?
Right.
Which, when I look back on it now, it was so privileged to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I went to the school to do one day's work, and they asked me, would I stay on? Yeah. Because they were being offsetted, and could I do a course for them? Mm-hmm. So that's what I did. And I thought, all these children, these Down syndrome children, there's no reason why they couldn't do art, why they couldn't do the GCSE. Yeah. So I took 6 kids and I did GCSE with these. Never been done before in the history of the school.
Right.
So I did art with that. That was really, really great. And at that time, my wife was very positive. She was called Elaine.
Yeah.
And she was very positive with regards to my art. And she said, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why didn't I enter for the Lang competition, which was a big competition, a big national competition, and it was held in Manchester? I said, oh, I'm not good enough for that. I'm useless. Anyway, I entered for the Lang and won it.
Right.
I won the Lang competition, which was really out of the blue, really. But that was fantastic. But I was still painting and drawing, and I'd drawn all my life, and all the drawings, I've got thousands of drawings of Salford, the canals, everything about that area.
Yeah.
And I completed to do that. And I exhibited at Saddleworth Art Group. I was a member of Saddleworth Art Group as well, through John McCombs and Sheila Dewsbury, people like that, and got introduced to those. And I met Steve Capper.
Right.
And I'd known Steve for quite some time as an artist and as a potter. And Steve said to me, he said, I'm going up to a guy called David Gunning in Todmorden.
Right.
I said, who's Dave Gunning? I'd never heard of Dave Gunning because I hadn't been into that exhibition thing at all, really. Yeah. I'd never taken work anywhere to any gallery other than maybe MAFA and stuff like that. So I went up to Dave Gunning's with Stephen, and
it's about 20 years ago. It's about 20 years ago, this,
20, at least 20 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
So me and Steve arrived up at Todmorden Art Gallery, and this Dave Gunning and his fellow who did his framing, Brian, was there, you know.
Yeah.
And he said to Steve, he said, I like your work. He said, but he said, you know, I won't be able to sell it, you know. But when I walked into Dave Gunning's, on the wall in front of me, there was big Geoffrey Keyes.
Yes.
There was all the painters which he had, you know, Don McKinley, McIntyre.
Yeah. Gordon Radford, probably.
Sorry?
Gordon Radford, maybe?
Oh, Gordon, right? Yeah, Gordon. Yeah, Gordon was there. And the other fella, what's he called? Who's the fella that Dave found, 72? Is it Clark
William
Hart?
Turner. Sorry, William Turner.
William Turner. And I went in there. I could have bought the William Turners for 250 quid.
Right.
Dave was selling them. So I thought it was, what a character Dave was.
Yeah.
So he said to me, he said, what do you do? I said, oh, nobody's interested. I've got loads of drawings of Salford before it was all done up and all that kind of stuff. Loads. He said, can I come and have a look? Come and see you. So he came down to the house and he took everything. He took all my painting. And the best thing about it was the first time in my life that he framed everything.
Yeah.
I didn't have to buy it. I mean, up to then I was getting all kinds of rubbish frames, trying to frame them myself, which was rubbish, really. Dave had his own framer. I took the work up there and Dave framed all the work and sold a lot of the work, and I couldn't do enough, really, which was fantastic. It was absolutely superb. Yeah, and it was not just that. I love going to Todmorden just to see the kind of work, and later on the different artists that we had. Yeah. We had some fabulous artists at one time, and very stimulating to go into there. And Dave was very, very good. Yeah. And after that, it suddenly took off.
Yeah, of course.
I finished exhibiting Wendy Levy, County Galleries, Collect Art, Colourfield Gallery. They all wanted my work. I think basically that was through Dave Gunning, really, because I think once you were in with Dave Gunning, he was like the, what would you call him? I don't know. How would you call Dave Gunning, Anthony? The guru.
He's the legend, isn't he? He's sort of, so many artists, especially in the Northwest, have been with Dave at one time, and I think he's very proud of the fact that artists have gone on from him and on to different things, and sort of and he's got some amazing stories, Dave, as well, with some of the artists that he's shown there. I did an episode with Dave, didn't I? An episode of the podcast, which was really, really good as well. He's brilliant. He's a very entertaining guy. So that's it. So your painting style itself, then let's talk about that, if that's okay. How you developed that, your painting style, to being what it is. I refer to it as kind of a Northern Cubism style, if that sort of makes sense. What are your influences?
I was saying to you, it was this art teacher who did this basic design course.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It was some of the things that he told you about, the simplicity in shape, overlapping, colour, different ways to use colour. And that was ingrained in me from the school. But not just that. In Ardwick, where we were, they built a new school. And when they built a new school, they put prints up around the walls. And some of the prints that they put around the walls, I'd never seen before. I'd never seen Picasso's, but there was one of the ones on the wall was a Bernard Buffet, and it was a scene of Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, that is absolutely superb. Bernard Buffet. Yeah. This was what I wanted to do. I love Bernard Buffet's work, and what I learned at school, I carried on into college.
Yeah.
And it still worked at college, but we did actually people perhaps a bit more professional, really, who gave me advice. But I still kept that same thing from school, that same idea. And I think one of the things, it kept you being an individual. There wouldn't seem to be a lot of people doing that. Yeah, doing this basic design and Bauhaus, things like that, really. But it just took off. It went silly, really. And people who bought my work from Dave Gunning opened galleries.
Yeah,
they actually opened galleries themselves,
That's right, yeah.
And so there were quite a lot of galleries, Knaresborough. But I think the thing about them was these people became my friends. Yeah, they weren't just gallery owners, Dave Gunning's a great friend of mine, as our county galleries are, Rachel and Christopher, and their mum and dad, and the same with like Contemporary Six.
Oh, Alex,
is a friend. I can go and talk to them, and the same with Colourfield, and the same at Collect Art. They're friends.
Yeah, of course.
Which was great, really. And I'm just very appreciative of the fact that I never thought I'd ever be able to sell my work anywhere. It was the last thing on my mind. But it took off, and it's been smashing. I mean, the unfortunate thing was that my wife died 16 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
And she was so influential in keeping me, you've got to do this. Go, have a go, do it. Yeah. You've got nothing to lose. And she was very, very positive. Yeah. Unfortunately, my daughter, Anna, and her kids and my son Matthew, they're very helpful and very supportive of me and what I do.
Yeah.
And they've kept me going. But I think being an artist, it's a very selfish life.
Yeah.
You know, when you're on your own, I can get up in the middle of the night and paint. I can get up in the morning and paint. There's nobody to stop you doing anything. There's nobody to argue with. There's no wife to say, let's go here and let's go there.
Yeah.
But when I retired when I was 50, I had 10 years with my wife where we went everywhere. Yeah. We had a bucket list of paintings that we wanted to see. Not that particularly anybody wanted to see, but we had a bucket list of 10.
Oh, that's
and my wife had cancer and I had meningitis.
Right.
And when we came round, we said, where shall we go? We said, we'll go to Rome. Now, I've been to Rome before, and I've been trying to track about Bernard Buffet for many, many years. Not a lot of things about him, not a lot to talk about him, you know. My dad kept sending me pictures from The Guardian about him.
Yeah.
I think he got committed suicide. There wasn't much about him. And anyway, we went to Rome, and we're going in the Vatican Museum, going towards the Sistine Chapel, and I noticed there was a Borgia gallery. So we went in the Borgia gallery. My wife read everything. She'd say to me, did you read this and did you read that? And I said, no. And I found a doorway, and I opened the doorway, and it was Bernard Buffet. The whole of the chapel was taken up by Bernard Buffet's paintings of the Nativity and the Crucifixion of Christ.
Right.
Nobody's ever told me about that. Nobody's ever said a word about it.
Right.
And that was fantastic. But I mean, personally, if you ask me who I would like, a very great Stanley Spencer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Stanley Spencer's fantastic. Keith Vaughan, but the other one was William Roberts.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. I can see that. I can see that as well.
And Feininger was very influential. But you pick up what did Picasso say? He said, "Yeah, I don't copy, I steal."
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
All this fitted into that early training, that basic training which I did from the sixth form and at school. That was sort of ingrained into me that much that really I couldn't get rid of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank God I couldn't get rid of it, because I mean it wasn't photographic in any sense of way. So it was just basic, simple design based on Bauhaus principles. You look now, everybody's got a Klee on the wall or a Kandinsky. These people now suddenly being acceptable by lots of families and that, you know. Yeah. And I think in some ways, I was always taught that the average public was 60 years behind time. They're now accepting stuff now.
That's
which
interesting.
was done maybe 60 years ago. I went to see, I think Guernica was very important.
Yeah.
I went to see Guernica.
Okay.
That in Madrid.
Yeah.
There was one painting I didn't see. There's one painting I wanted to see, which was Demoiselles d'Avignon by Picasso, which was in MoMA in New York.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I went on holiday then. It wasn't open, so my wife didn't get to see it. And she died. She died 17 years ago. But when I was 70, my kids treated me to go to New York.
Right.
To see Demoiselles d'Avignon.
Oh, there you go.
The other big influence was have you heard of the Fulbright scheme?
No, I don't think so. What's that?
The Fulbright scheme was the one where American teachers could come over to England.
Okay.
An English teacher would swap and go to America.
Right.
I think the famous one, the famous Fulbright person was what's he called? The president and his wife, Clinton.
Right.
He was on a Fulbright scheme where we came over, but I had a lad from America came over to teach with me.
Right.
A lad called Rex Walden, and he lived in Connecticut. And when he went back, I was able to go to America, and I've been a few times to stay with him in America. That was fantastic, really.
You're well travelled, aren't you?
Sorry?
You're very well travelled, Peter.
Well, I also think that my style of work, wherever I've gone, I've been able to use my style to produce the places I've been to. Yeah. My daughter lived in France for 2 years.
Right.
She lived in Lisieux and a place called Granville. And I was able to do paintings of there. You know, son lives in the Lake District. So all these places allow you to do things and do something. You know, if you're not very careful, you can do the same thing over and over again, really. And I can't do that. I've got to do different things, really.
So did you have you produced pictures of America then in that case? Did you do pictures of America? Right, I've never seen any of those.
Dave Gooding had a lot of them.
He sold them.
Did a lot of. I have a friend who has a house in Mallorca,
right,
up in the mountains. My friend John, and he also has a house in Ireland in Liston Varna.
Mm-hmm.
And he also has a flat in London and a big house in Chapel on the Frith.
Right.
So I've spent a lot of time in Ireland, painting cottages and all kinds of stuff in Ireland. Yeah. And then I've been in London. I've done paintings of London and a lot of paintings of Mallorca.
Right. That's interesting. Well, there you go.
Cultivate your friends, Anthony. That's what.
Well, it looks like you've got some rich friends. I think by the sounds of it.
Well, I have this. It's funny. This friend I'm talking about, he was at school with me at St Greg's,
right?
In Ardwick.
Yeah.
From when I was 11, and I'm still close to him now. And everything he worked for all his life.
Right.
He's been very kind to me and the family. Yeah. We've all been able to spend time in these houses with him. Especially in Mallorca. Yeah. Fabulous, really. Yeah.
No, it's very good.
But, as I say, I've been on my own for the last 16 years. So.
One thing about where you live there in Oldham, there's quite a community of artists, isn't there, as well, and sort of people who like, art lovers and artists from Oldham who are obviously friends with you. So you talked about Steve Capper and you talked about John McCombs.
Well, the thing was that when I moved here, when I got married and moved here, it was very much similar to Salford. You've got mills.
Yes.
We have canals up here. We've got old archaeology places, Yeah. But when I was teaching in special needs, I got introduced to Russell Howarth.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get on to Russell, talking about
Russell.
And
Russell, I didn't know Russell at all, but I loved his work. I think of all the painters, he captured Saddleworth better than anybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I got Russell, and Russell said, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm working 2 days a week in special needs." So Russell said, "Do you mind if I come up?" So for 3 years, Russell used to come up every Tuesday and work with his kids with me, doing ceramics.
Yeah.
So Russell said, "Why don't we form a group?" Because at that time, I was still talking to Steve Capper. Why don't we have a group? And also Kevin Haynes joined us.
Yeah.
Kevin had just started painting and doing his work. So we formed a group called A Gang of Four.
That's right.
And every Wednesday, we used to go out every Wednesday. We go to a gallery. And obviously, gallery owners got to know us. We went all over the place, 4 of us. Yeah, but I think we really went to eat, really, rather than go to galleries. We could have a meal in a pub or something like that.
Yeah.
But Kevin went on to do great things. Steve's doing very, very well. And Paul Russell left us last year, really.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Which was very, very sad. But it was nice to have a group like that. And Saddleworth has got a lot of painters, quite a lot of.
It has, yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, it has, and it has over the years.
But as I say, the Manchester Academy has been very good to me as well. I was on the council there up to last year, doing all the exhibitions and helping with things like that, really, and met some very nice people. Amric Vakalis is a close friend. People like that. So it's very, very good, really. I could write a book about all the things. I've not told you half the stories.
I know, no, it's good. I mean, we know. I mean, obviously, we have a good friend, don't we? As well, Eric Tasker's a really good friend of ours, isn't he? A joint friend of ours. He's one of.
Oh yeah.
My wife's a huge fan of your work, as I think you probably know. We've got a few of yours, and she's like, honestly, she loves you. You're probably her favourite of the Northern artists. I think it's fair to say. I'm in the bedroom now, and she's actually I think I've got about 4 or 5 on the wall, including the earliest one we've got is a drawing which is from '98, which is like that's a view from over Lees, sort of. So that's a nice thing to have as well.
I think one of the nicest things was through Dave Gunning was going to Messham's in London.
Oh yeah, I was there.
And you were there, weren't you? Yeah. That was great. Because
that was a good day out. That was a proper Northern day out.
Yeah, it was a good day out. It
was funny. We all met on the train. We all sort of didn't know everybody was all going down together, and I kept bumping into people on the train. It was like so.
Your friend Dave was with you once.
I was with Dave Hartlett, and I was with another guy, a collector, David Myers as well. And we went down. And it was a brilliant day, and Jeff Key was there as well, wasn't he? And various people. Yeah. And it was that was because obviously Messham's did this show, didn't they? This Northern Elemental show. and he sort of got together some of the northern artists. It was a real. I mean, I was a bit worse for wear, to be honest with you, at the end of it.
Also, the next good one was County Galleries. Were very, very good. We had an exhibition at the one in Mosley Street. The what's it called? The private club there.
Oh,
next to the art gallery.
The Portico.
The Portico.
Yeah.
With an exhibition in the Portico from County Galleries.
Yeah.
They've been very, very good. I'd say they're very close friends, but they've been a big influence on selling work and wanting work. And again, they frame the work, which is smashing, really. So
nice.
Wendy Levy was great with me. But I can remember when I worked in Salford, when I first started working, I had no car. And I used to walk down past Albert Square. And on the way back from Albert Square, I'd call in at Tib Lane Gallery.
Yeah. Very good.
Now, I'm talking about 1960s. And he went in there, and it was full of Lowrys. And all the Lowry drawings were all going for £13. Well, I only earned £9 a week.
Yeah, but it's not a bad deal. Not a bad deal, that is it?
£9 a week, but all these Lowrys were on the wall for £13, and I couldn't afford them, obviously. But passes you by. But I'm just so lucky to have been where I was, working in Salford, which is my ideal place for ideas. I've got thousands and thousands of drawings. I draw all the time. I don't think the day goes past when I don't draw. And I use the drawings. Every painting I've got, there's drawings that go with them.
Right.
And it's nice to be able to give the drawings to the people who get the paintings as well, so they can see where the ideas come from, really.
That's amazing.
But no, it's amazing when you look back what the influences on your life are. You know, the most important was my family, really. Mum and dad were none of them were artists, but they never stopped me doing, me doing what I wanted to do, and were so supportive, as was my wife and my daughter, Anna and Matthew. And I have grandkids now, and they've all got my paintings in their houses. So it's been really, really great, really.
It's been
I'd sooner give them away than sell them.
Yeah, that's it. How have you been? How's it been in the last sort of year? With lockdown. One thing I've noticed. I think your work at the moment is incredible. Some of the pictures that you're producing now are the strongest I've ever seen. So you must be doing all right in lockdown. You must be sort of producing some amazing pictures at the moment, I think.
Well, I mean, the first thing I did, I made clocks that was what I started with, making clocks.
Right. Okay.
I started making Lowry clocks.
I'm on a promise to get one of those from you.
I've got one here right in front of me now. I'm going to give you. Can I go and show it you?
Show me, yeah. Nobody be able to see it who's listening, but it's fine. I won't mind having a look. I'm being selfish. Eventually, when I can see you, I can. I'll come and get it from you.
Can see that?
Oh, fantastic! Oh, I love it. Brilliant. That's
Can you
lovely.
see that?
Yeah. I can see it. Thank you.
I wanted to do something different, so I made 15 Lowry clocks.
Brilliant.
So what it was when I worked at Hilltop, which is a special needs school, we had one of the suppliers of educational supplies was at in a mill in Oldham, and we used to buy the stuff from them. Now, when they closed down, they said to me, "Did I want anything? I could have it." So I went down and I got 200 clock parts.
Right.
So I had this box of clock parts, which they'd given me from Hope. So I thought, when the lockdown came down, I thought, what shall I do that's just slightly different? So I started making clocks.
Brilliant.
So that's what I did. But it's very similar to doing the clay work, really, because I used to have my own kiln in the garage.
Yeah.
And I carried on doing. I've got a potter's wheel in the greenhouse. So mess about doing a bit of pottery and a bit of woodwork and something to do, really. But the trouble is, it's dark in winter, isn't it? At 4 o'clock.
That's true.
What do you do from 4 o'clock onwards?
That's true. Well, it's getting lighter now.
You watch television all day, so you paint, you lose yourself. Well, I do anyway.
I think your paintings at the moment. I spoke to you yesterday about sort of how strong I think they are at the moment. And I know Dave Gunning on the episode that we did with Dave said that some of your work at the moment is just breathtaking. He's blown away by what you're producing. But I think you mentioned about the fact that you're not under any pressure at the moment. You're just producing what you love to produce, and you're not painting.
Exactly.
And that's it, isn't it? And that's
I think what happens if you're not very careful, if you're doing stuff for a market, you can do stuff which is rubbish, not rubbish, but you do it so quickly because you know that somebody wants it. You don't give it the best, really.
Yeah.
Whereas you take your time, you can look at the work, you can see where the mistakes are, if you've got mistakes, and what you want to change, really. So that's what I've done over the whole. It's been a year now, full year, and I can go 4 or 5 days, well, a week, not see anybody at all. Obviously, because I'm on lockdown, I'm getting on a little bit here, so I have to be very careful. Yeah. I've had my jab this week.
You've had your jab, yeah?
The only problem was I had to go to the Etihad for it.
Oh,
I'm a United fan.
Yeah, that's it.
So that's the sad part, really. But it's not just that. I mean, some of the best artists in Manchester, I know them all. Most of them, I know most of them, and I like the work which they're doing. It's very vibrant at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
There's no gallery open, but some of the artists, there's some fantastic work being done.
Yeah, there is
by these artists. So I've been very lucky, Anthony. Really lucky. I had a good teacher at school. Yeah. Salford was a brilliant place to work, and Oldham has still got the same. We've got the canals. I've got a Roman fort behind me here.
Yeah.
Just up the road, Roman fort.
Yeah.
You've got the canal system, the mills, everything really. So it's like carrying on.
Oh, it's
and
brilliant.
I go out twice a week drawing up on the tops, so it's really good.
Yeah, that's good.
At the end of the day, I mean, I never set out to do it, to publish myself at all. It's always people have liked the work and have approached me. Yeah. Rather than me chasing, I've never gone into a gallery with my work and said, will you take this or will you take that? I've been very lucky in the sense that the galleries have liked the work. Yeah. Especially Dave Gunning. He was very, very influential in everything I've done, as are County Galleries and Alex Rubens, they've been so supportive of me, really. Yeah. But I never thought that would ever happen. I still can't believe it sometimes. People want to buy your work.
No, they do. It's your work is, it's got people love it, don't they? Having it on the walls.
I think what as an artist, what you want to do, you want people to look at that piece of work and say that is a Peter Stanaway. Yeah. You don't want to look at it and say that is somebody else. Otherwise you're losing, aren't you? And I think of all the things people are able to look at my work and know it's mine.
Definitely.
That what I do, obviously, you're influenced by loads of people. Everybody's influenced by somebody or other. But at the end of the day, you want people to be able to recognise your work for being what it is and not say it looks like somebody else's work.
Yeah,
but,
that's true.
That's the influences which you have, really. I think that was one of the good things about the GCSE that we did. That part of the GCSE course, the kids had to look at the work of an artist.
Yeah.
And talk about them. That was part of the course that they had to do and show that they had to do that. So a lot of this, what you call, Picasso and people were introduced to kids in school. Yeah. As was Lowry. Everywhere you went in the school exhibition, there was always Lowry's. The kids had copied Lowry's. But that was one of the great things of the exam system, that it made people look at other works of art, really. Definitely. And get to appreciate it. And I think that was vitally important because the thesis I did a thesis for my degree. Mm-hmm. And what it was that why did I get kids in school at secondary level? The first thing they said to me was, I can't draw.
Yeah.
I said, what do you mean you can't draw? And I said, well, what's my job? You're going to teach us how to draw. I said, no, I'm not. I don't want you to draw like me. I'm going to teach you how to see. What do you mean we're going to teach you how to see? I said, well, you don't see, do you? What do you mean? I said, all right, draw yourself. Pardon? Draw yourself. Don't you know what you look like? You're 14, 15. You look in the mirror every day because you don't look. And that's the art teacher's job to say to you, this is what I see. This is do what you see. But I'm a great believer. Everybody can draw. I've always believed it. And I still believe that everybody can draw. You don't have to have a photographic image all the time.
No. Absolutely.
And I think one of the worst things is, like your Blue Peter said, you've got this different kinds of things, but you put children in a situation where you teach them to see, and you look at and you give them things to draw in front of them, as opposed to copying from magazines and pictures, really. And I've thought that all my life, really. That
no, you're right.
Everybody can draw, but it gets knocked out of you by various schools, teachers, everything. And I was lucky that I had teachers college lecturers who appreciated what I was doing, really.
Yeah, I mean, I know one thing I was going to say. I know religion's very important to you, isn't it? I think if that's fair to say, and also music is very important to you as well, isn't it? Is that right?
Well, the thing was when I was in Salford, I cut a long story short. When I got married, my wife wouldn't have a television,
right?
So I bought a guitar. And the kids at school, I was at school, they played guitar, so I learned to play the guitar. And then, of course, when I moved to Oldham, to this parish, this priest I was talking about who moved here, he said, "Why don't you play in church?" Well, I thought, at the time it was organ music and stuff like that. But fortunately, I have some close friends who are in folk groups.
Yeah.
Especially the Oldham Tinkers, a lad called Gerard Kearns. And I was with his brother at college, Larry Kearns, and another group called the Hometowners, run by two lads from Mike Collins is called. And music is a big part. I play at church every Sunday, and I go to folk concerts, and I do play at folk evenings. Yeah. So the music, you'll see a lot of my paintings are about guitarists.
Yeah, you do. That's what I meant. Players. That's right, yeah.
That's the reason why, because such an influential, it's a stimulus to be able to paint, to go to these folk concerts. And the Hometowners, one of the nice things they asked me to do was to do the CD covers for the last two CDs, which they did.
Yeah.
So one of the last CD I did, it was produced by what's he called? Memory's going very quickly, Anthony, at the moment, and your senility is creeping upon me.
Don't worry about
what's he called? The fella. He works in a mill. He works in Woodend Mill with Chris Cypress, but he's on the radio, the Bradshaws.
Oh right, okay.
Do you know?
I know the Bradshaws. Yeah.
Well, he produced, the fellow who does the Bradshaws, Billy Bradshaw. He produced the CD, right, and they use a lot of my paintings for the CD.
That's interesting.
Which was very nice. So did a couple of CD covers.
Right. Well, there you go. Right. Okay. So I think I'll go and let you have your tea now, Peter, because it's late now, isn't it? We've been on for a while.
I'm gonna paint.
Well, that's it. Why not? This is it, isn't it? You still love doing it.
The thing is, when you're on your own, there's nobody to stop you. Yeah. I mean, it's
that's it.
I can lose myself in the painting.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Brilliant.
I say my wife died 17 years ago, really. So it's a long time, really, to be on your own. But again, it's a very selfish life being an artist, because your time is taken up. You can spend hours and hours. But fortunately, God gave me that gift to be able to do that. So I'm very grateful, really. Yeah. And for the close friends I've got, I think the most of all, your friendships with people is the most important thing, really. That they happen to be in the art world is okay, but without your friends, you're nothing, really.
No, that's it. You're right, Peter.
So it's good, nice people, though. A lot of nice people I've met through the art world, really. Yeah. As you know yourself, you've met such a lot of
good people. It's brilliant. The social sort of side of it around the art is incredible.
I mean, it's people like yourself who are so good at advertising people. I've listened to your last podcasts, and people are very appreciative. Really. But are you paying me for this, by the way?
It's fun to do. You should be paying me. I'm only joking. Right, I'm going to let you go. I'll let you go. But it's been amazing. Thank you very much for doing it, and and I'll no doubt I'll speak to you soon. Hopefully, I mean, the last time I saw you, it's crazy. It was the end of 2019. I actually saw you, and it was an exhibition at
Oldham. Was that at the Lowry?
I think it was Oldham Art Gallery. It was for Alan Thompson. Was you at the Alan Thompson exhibition?
Yes, yeah. I also saw at the Lowry film, didn't I?
When would that have been? Would that have been after? That would have been, I think that was just before it, I think, but I'm not sure. I can't remember. But yeah, you did see me there as well. Yeah,
I met you at the Alan Thompson exhibition. Yeah.
You did. Yeah, you did. Yeah. So we'll see each other again soon, hopefully.
I'm sure we'll do soon. But I owe you anyway.
Well,
I owe you one. I've got a clock here for you. I
can't wait. Right, I'll speak to you.
Tell your wife
I'll tell her.
I've got a Lowry clock for her.
Okay, Peter. I'll speak to you soon, yeah? Okay. Take care. Thanks the best.
Very much, Anthony. God bless.
Have a nice night.
Bye-bye.
See you soon, mate. Bye.
After recording this episode, Peter did message me to ask if I'd mention a couple of things that we didn't discuss on the day. he wanted to thank all of the galleries that have shown and exhibited his work. We did mention a fair few in the podcast, but perhaps a few slipped through the net. The next thing was regarding an exhibition that happened in late 2007 into 2008. It was called Millscapes, and it took place at Gallery Oldham, and then I think it moved to Touchstones in Rochdale as well. This was an exhibition which looked at industrial artists from the past, and also it kind of brought it up to date as well. It had artists like Lowry and Adolphe Follett, and Harry Rutherford and people like that, and then continued to more recent artists, people like Liam Spencer, and Peter was included in that exhibition as well. He did go on to lead to Peter's work being acquired by Gallery Oldham. I think the exhibition was perhaps organised by Stephen Whittle, who was the curator there at the time. So Peter felt that that was quite an important turning point in his career really as well. It did mean that he had work in a collection, and also it sort of helped to push his career forward as well, even further really, and on to greater successes. So he wanted me to mention that as well. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. You can head to the Northern Art page on Facebook and on Instagram as well, where I'll upload some images relating to the episode. Any likes, comments, shares, messages, anything like that is always appreciated. You can also subscribe to the channel on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, and then you won't miss out on any episodes that I upload in the future.
How do I turn it off now?
I'll do it.
It'll be on all night, this.